Hello, everybody. You're listening to Geekout Freakout. My name is Jeff. I'm joined here with Christina, my wife.
Hey.
And Spencer, my husband.
That's right.
This week, we are going to be talking about maybe end up being kind of a controversial subject, I guess, because people that are big fans can get really defensive.
People are going to lose their shit, dude.
Some people. We're going to be talking about anime. So before we get into this week's news, I want to ask you real quick. Spencer, are you a fan of anime?
You see, I can't answer that question. That's an impossible question to answer because I have to say no because I don't know what you're talking about when you ask me if I'm a fan of anime. You could be talking about all of it?
Yeah.
No.
So you
if
don't...
a gun to my head, am I a fan of anime? No.
Christina, are you a fan of anime?
I would say probably no.
All right. How many times, Spencer, have you jerked off to anime porn?
What constitutes anime porn?
We'll circle back to that one.
Please do.
But before we do, a lot of news to go over this week in comic book, movies, and video games. Obviously, the most important news that happened this week, it's something that actually just happened today, and that is my birthday. So you guys can now wish me a happy birthday. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Jeff.
Happy birthday.
Oh, wow. You didn't have to say that.
I hope you get everything that you deserve.
It's going to be fantastic. So, honestly, the thing that I think I'm most excited for that happened this week is a casting call went out for the Teen Titans live action television series. And it pretty much clearly reveals the 4 lead characters. It's definitely going to be Beast Boy, Starfire, Raven, and Dick Grayson's Nightwing. So I'm going to get to see fucking Nightwing finally in some form.
Yeah, fingers crossed that you won't be angry after seeing him, but...
Fingers crossed.
I don't know, dude. I don't think I will be. Like, all the DC TV shows are pretty fucking good. Like, they can be cheesy. I mean, they're CW. I don't think that this is. I think this is NBC.
Okay.
But, and I think they are trying to make it a little bit more adult than what the CW shows kind of aim for.
Okay.
But nevertheless, I mean, if that's...
Those aren't incredibly cheesy to begin with. Like,
well, they are and they aren't. I mean, they're cheesy in that, like, they're not afraid to have a talking psychic fucking gorilla.
Sure, but when you're okay, I think if you're gonna develop a Flash television show, you got to come to terms with the fact that there's gonna be a talking psychic gorilla.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, come on.
But no, Nightwing is like probably my favorite Bat Family character. It's not for Teen Titans. I do wish that it was Tim Drake as Robin. Just because that's from the Teen Titans, that like the cartoon show, the good one.
Sure, yeah.
That was good.
Oh, that's a super fucking good show. I think that show meant a lot to like a lot of people that grew up with it as well.
Do you think it's a signal that they're aware of that they're doing a quote unquote the Teen Titans live action after Teen Titans Go had the response that it did?
Fingers.
Yeah,
But
I think that they are. It's actually not being called Teen Titans. It's just being called Titans. And the reason for that may be that in the casting call, Nightwing is described as like late 20s.
Okay.
So
wow.
It also says that he's basically a police officer by day and a costume vigilante by night.
Okay.
Which lines up with a pretty long I think it was late 90s run of the Nightwing comic in which that was the case. He was in the city of Bloodhaven and he was a part of the police department there. It's like BLU with an umlaut D Haven, okay? It's not straight up Bloodhaven.
Okay, cool. That's good.
I heard your scoff.
It's
I said it loud.
Titans.
Yeah, well, it is
Adult Titans.
the Raven, the casting call for who everyone is assuming is Raven states that it is a young teenager for her, and that she is like a loner and an outcast. It basically says we're looking for a girl.
Teen Titans, right?
Yeah,
she was real cool.
This is kind of like how people are figuring out who the characters are. Like for her specifically, it says they're looking for a young teenager, any ethnicity, who is a like loner outcast who feels more comfortable in her hoodie than she does out in public, and who is prone to unexplained violent outbursts and has a darker side and a past that she doesn't understand.
Yeah,
So
that's
like,
pretty unabashedly Raven.
yeah, that's fucking Raven. I wonder how far they'll go into it with Raven, because like Nightwing's fine. You don't have to suspend any disbelief for Nightwing, right? Like he doesn't have any superpowers. He's just a dude who beats up baddies. Beast Boy transforms into animals. That's
Yeah.
I mean what I mean whatever, but like I'm really curious about Raven because like there's a lot of like kind of satanic elements to it. And like, if you remember, even in the show, they didn't really shy away from it. Like, if you remember the episodes where her father came, her father was like a big old fucking demon. It was like basically the devil. And he had like 4 eyes, right? And was like super fucking scary looking. But I just wonder if we'll see that, like, I don't know how far they're willing to go with that sort of kind of darker supernatural element to it. I love shit like that.
I think they'll be okay with the imagery. I mean, I think ittle be more generic runes than like a pentacle or something like that.
Right,
but I think they'll be able to walk the line fairly well.
Yeah. There's no mention of Cyborg at all. Presumably since Cyborg is actually going to be in the DC movie universe and they still don't want to let these things cross over.
Right, of course.
I'm also curious as to what effect, if any, this will have on the rumored Nightwing movie that's supposed to be coming out in conjunction with the Batman, the Batgirl, and the Gotham City Sirens movie.
Yeah, I think it's anybody's guess at this point. I was actually going to mention that I was slightly surprised
that it was Nightwing.
That it was Nightwing,
of,
yeah.
Tim Drake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that means that probably that movie's not going to happen. I think that's a pretty safe bet.
I wasn't entirely sure if I thought the movie was going to get out of production hell anyway.
I just wanted Nightwing either way. So
of course. You know, it's but as time goes by when it comes to DC, I mean, after Wonder Woman, I think that all bets are off. We'll see what happens. But for a long time, I was like, okay, if this is something that I think will be really cool, that I really want to see happen, I can almost bank on it not happening.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
For sure.
But yeah, I'm super looking forward to it. I think that it's going to be probably a pretty cool show. It's a really neat property. And I think the thing that I like about it the most is if it addresses sort of like the sidekick status that all those characters have.
Yes.
And like the secondary status and how they're, and Nightwing might work better for that role than Dick Grayson as Robin, because when Tim Drake as Robin, because when Tim Drake's in it, he's still Robin, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Dick Grayson becoming Nightwing is similar to the overall ethos of the Teen Titans, and that he's like, I'm not your Robin anymore. I'm my own person. I'm Nightwing. And he kind of rejects, for a long period of time, Bruce Wayne and Batman and the rest of the Bat family, leaves Gotham.
Yeah. I agree that if they come at it from a certain perspective and make sure to give narrative time to that kind of perspective, that it might end up being something different than what we've seen over and over again. Yeah,
I hope that they don't portray, because I'm sure he's not going to be in it, but there's got to be mentions of Batman.
Sure.
And I hope that they're not afraid to portray him in like a less than perfect light, if that makes sense. Because like I like when Nightwing deals with, I mean, almost like fucking PTSD of some of the shit that Bruce Wayne puts him through.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In other news, there have been some early reactions to the new Spider-Man Homecoming movie.
Looking good.
The quote that we read was easily the best since Spider-Man 2. And I'd asked you earlier and wanted you to finish on here. What are your thoughts on Spider-Man 2, Spencer?
I'll get it out of the way. I enjoyed Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
But I found myself, because everyone revolted against the direction or Peter Parker or what have you during Spider-Man 3.
Sure. That movie's a fucking dumpster fire.
But by the end of Spider-Man 2, I was, and again, this might be something that a lot of people feel for a lot of different reasons, but I didn't like Peter Parker, and that's not something that I'm familiar feeling.
Because he was a whiny little bitch?
Well, I wouldn't put it in so many words, but I was rooting for Doc Ock.
Yeah.
At a few different points,
Wow.
and that felt strange. I don't know. I thought the first one was a really good launching pad. And again, I encountered it when I was very young, so there might be a nostalgia factor that's kind of clouding my opinion here. But I felt like they just continuously fumbled with what they had struck with in Spider-Man 1.
I personally think that Spider-Man 2 was better than Spider-Man 1.
I don't have any specific arguments to that, I guess, but my belief in Peter Parker as this flawed hero that I related to was solid in the first one, shaken in the second one.
I think that I think the main reason that I like it more is mostly because of Doc Ock, actually.
Yeah.
I think the portrayal of Doc Ock and the acting job was fucking top notch. Like, they made me more sympathetic for him than I was even the comic book version of Doc Ock. He's always kind of a joke to me in the comics, like his goofy bowl haircut and like the fact that like the old school portrayal of him, he's wearing like that green jumpsuit and those glasses. He looks like the Mole Man, just with fucking the extra arms. Like, I always thought he was kind of goofy and not very intimidating, but like that movie introduces you to him early on, and he's like, I don't know, such like a loving, warm person. Like the scenes you get where Peter's talking to him and his wife, and he's like quoting poetry and all that shit. Like, he's such a, I don't know, worldly bohemian kind of guy, and you totally love him. And then the sequence, when the arms are fused to him and they take him into the hospital room.
Yeah.
And like the arms wake up before he does. And they're killing all the fucking doctors.
Yes.
That's my favorite scene so far out of any fucking Spider-Man movie.
Really?
Like, period. Oh, dude. That's so good.
It's very memorable.
Yeah. They, I mean, I don't know, dude. They just, like, it's such, like, there's such a horror element to it.
Well, the way that it was shot was reminiscent. Like, that stands out to me from the rest of the movie. I'm glad that you mentioned there's such a horror aspect to it, because it felt almost B-horror movie-esque.
Yeah.
When the arms actually started throwing everyone around. And there's even that shot of from under the gurney of someone being dragged away by one of the arms on the ground, just reaching towards the camera and like screaming. And
yeah, and I think that that's like the only time that they let Sam Raimi like go all in.
Sure.
Because Sam Raimi directed the original Evil Dead movies. And kind of pioneered the if you remember from the old Evil Deads, like the end shot or any of the shots where it's supposed to be like you're viewing what the monster, it's not really a monster, but like what the entity views.
Yes.
As it's like running through the fucking woods and coming up on the house and shit. It does that with his arms.
Yes.
And like it's so fucking cool. So I don't know. I like that they balanced those elements. I liked the whole plot line of Peter Parker like starting to lose his powers. Since they went in Spider-Man 1 with the route of him having the webbing be a part of his body instead of the web shooters on his wrists, like the mechanical device, it's cool that they came up with a way to still give us that moment. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's the only moment we've seen it in any of the movies where he's fucking mid-fight, mid-web swing and like isn't able to shoot webs, right?
I think so, yes.
Which that's like a classic fucking, at least from the animated series, the early 90s one that we grew up with.
Cartridge ran out.
Oh no, I'm out of cartridges. Like, what am I gonna do? Yeah, so I don't know. I thought it was a fucking great movie. I get what you're saying. He is...
Well, I think if I look at it just in terms, I think it might be a better movie, but I not for the same reasons that everyone else does. I mean, going back to what you said about not thinking that Doc Ock was intimidating in maybe the animated series or in the comic books.
Yeah,
I felt that as well, but even more so than like how terrifying the arms themselves are. I think a really good point that was made to me narratively was that there is not much that's more intimidating than a man who has nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And that was the scariest part for me. And I enjoy that quite a bit.
Did you like that movie?
I don't think I ever saw it, just because I don't really... Spider-Man's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
Like, he's cool. He's a cool guy, like, but it's not like a movie that I seek out.
Really?
Yeah, it's never been one of those characters that I really, related to at all, you know?
Why
Man,
not?
for a long time.
Nerd. You're a nerd.
Well, you're a nerd too, but...
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
I don't know.
Yeah, for a long time, Spider-Man was
I
my
also-
absolute favorite.
Like,
Yeah,
I
for sure.
really hate Tobey Maguire. I do.
Just as a person?
Yeah.
like he's scum.
I mean, not really as a person. Just his face is off-putting, and it's like
His cry faces.
Oh my god, his cry faces! Wow. But I mean, just I guess Spider-Man as a character, not really my thing.
Doesn't do it for you?
No.
That's too bad. I'm thinking about a divorce now.
Whatever.
Also, obviously, big news about the solo Han Solo movie.
Solo for solo.
A Tale of Two Solos.
Solo squared.
Yeah, so there'll be a video up about that for some further details, but I'll go ahead and spoil it here, guys. The gist of it is that the directors, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, have been fired by Kathleen Kennedy and Lawrence Kasdan, and Ron Howard has been hired to replace them.
And then the skies opened up.
Yeah, for sure. I think the most interesting thing, and this just came out like today, and I think late yesterday, so I didn't even get the time to incorporate it into the video very much, but apparently the first person to like voice concerns with their direction was the actor, Alden, I can't pronounce his name, Ehrenreich. It definitely has Reich in the name. It's E-H-R-E.
Ehrenreich?
Ehrenreich. That makes more
Yeah,
sense.
Ehrenreich
Yeah.
sounds
It's like
right.
a German way to spell Aaron.
I don't know if it's a hard or a soft J.
There's no J in there
Yeah,
at all.
there's
What do you-
no J.
It's just a little reference for you.
Yeah.
But the actor portraying him said that he didn't think that what they were capturing of his performance and what they were trying to get him to do as an actor was really true to what he thought he should be doing as Han Solo.
Which is a good sign as a fan to hear
Yeah.
the actor voicing those concerns.
For sure.
To hear him have that passion for the character.
Apparently, it was, quote, oddly similar to Jim Carrey's portrayal of Ace Ventura.
Woof.
Man, I thought I would be done cringing when I heard that quote the fourth or fifth time. Still hasn't happened.
Yeah, that it was going for a screwball comedy take on the character.
God.
So yeah, he voiced those concerns to one of the producers, and that producer voiced the same concerns to Kathleen. And Kathleen decided to review the footage that they had so far. And apparently, after viewing the footage they had, was like, "Okay, full fucking stop. You guys are out." She said, "Why are there fucking meatballs in this scene?"
Why are there fucking meatballs?
But
Made
no,
the meatball run in under 12 parsecs.
no, but I think honestly, like I think some people are thinking that, oh man, like the movie's in distress and in chaos. I think we've seen, especially in recent years, that bringing on additional directors and doing reshoots and things like that can save a film more often than not. That's not always a sign of like an upcoming disaster.
Yeah, people are quick to cry chaos, but it also might be the sign of a tight level of control that they want to exert over the final product.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I think is an okay thing. I mean, there's always reshoots on every Marvel movie.
Yep.
Obviously, the best example of some really extensive ones and having another director come in would be Rogue One. And I mean, I don't know. We'll never know what that movie was like before that. But
It seems to have been served well.
yeah, I mean, it did really, really well. Everybody, for the most part, loves that movie. So I don't think that there's a problem with it. I think that we're going to definitely get a better movie because of it for Han Solo than we would have if we got Ace Ventura fucking 3, Ace in Space.
Ace in space.
Son of a bitch.
Oh my god.
Speaking of space, some set photos for Infinity War, the upcoming Marvel movie, show Doctor Strange and his I don't know the correct term, man. It's like it's called a manservant in the old comics.
His ward. I don't know.
Is that better now? Whatever. His fellow magician on an equal level, Wong,
Who has the sacred duty of cleaning, cooking.
But no, some on-set photos of him and Wong are in some outfits that totally look different from what they were wearing, and some people are speculating that they look a little science fiction-y, a little spacey.
They definitely have that look.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
do you guys think that we'll see the Avengers go to space?
I really hope so.
I was thinking that it was going to be I think I said this in last week's video when we were talking about Dark Phoenix, but I was thinking it was going to be more space coming to them, right? Like the
Okay,
Guardians.
Sure,
yeah.
one can assume.
The Guardians will come to Earth, and Thanos is going to come to Earth. But I think it makes sense also that maybe it's a little bit different. I think what's really interesting is in that photo is also Mark Ruffalo and Robert Downey Jr., obviously the Hulk and Iron Man. So maybe, I don't know, I would like to see Doctor Strange's whole like dimension hopping mechanic
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
used like in tandem with Iron Man's technology. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Of
yeah.
course.
Like Iron Man could have built him a fucking rocket ship, but like Doctor Strange could just port them to where they needed to be in space, but they're still safe inside of a rocket ship. if
Yes.
that makes sense. Some shit like that would be cool. Now there was also some other interesting things in that photo. Robert Downey Jr. has a hole in his chest in the shirt that he's wearing, seemingly indicating an arc reactor, like where the arc reactor would be. But that was removed, and I think Iron Man 3, maybe it was Iron Man 2, or was it the beginning of 3?
I think
Do you
it was
remember?
3.
Okay. So he does not have the arc reactor in his chest anymore. He doesn't need it. His heart's fine. The shrapnel is removed. So I don't know what would lead to him needing one again. You don't think it's a flashback, do you?
No, I don't necessarily think it's a flashback. I mean, it might be something as simple as the arc reactor in his suit malfunctions because of blah blah blah, and it like burns a hole, and he can't use the suit, and now he's useless. Like I don't. That's my immediate level of speculation.
I think, just from what I know of the comics and like the evolution of his suits and how fast they've gone in the movies, I'm wondering if we'll get to see a version of the suit that is always on him. So like, because it goes down to even like nanomachines that are in his blood at
Yeah.
times. I don't think we'll get that level, but I wonder if obviously the suit needs an arc reactor to be powered, and if he's gonna have some sort of device that basically the whole suit can retract and it just is the arc reactor permanently in his chest, but that it can spread out, covering him, in like a fucking split second.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
that would make sense.
Yeah, so like the whole suit is
yeah.
always there. Because that's
Yeah.
always kind of the evolution that he's been going in the movies, is just quicker and quicker and quicker access
Right.
to the suit when he needs it. The other really interesting thing is seeing Doctor Strange and Iron Man together indicates that we may be getting the movie version of the super group from the comics, the Illuminati. The Illuminati is, in the comics, it's Doctor Strange, Iron Man, as well as Professor Xavier and Namor, the Submariner.
Okay.
And basically, as well as I think Black Bolt from the Inhumans, I believe. But basically, they represent kind of everything, right?
Yeah.
Like Xavier for all mutants, Black Bolt for all Inhumans, Namor for the people that live in the water.
The
people
people of
who live in the
Atlantis,
water.
the noble people of Atlantis, Jeff. Lest we
That's-
not forget.
There's, as far as like the Marvel versus DC like fake rivalry that exists with fans and stuff, I feel like of all the comparable characters, the Marvel versions are usually better. You know what I mean?
Except for
Yeah, but that is not one of them, dude. I will take Aquaman over Namor the Submariner any day of the week. But anyways, Iron Man represents the Avengers, obviously, and Doctor Strange represents everything magical and mystical.
yes.
And like the whole point of the Illuminati is, I can't off the top of my head remember the event, but there's something that happens, and Doctor Strange knew about part of it, and Iron Man knew about part of it, but they didn't work together because Doctor Strange wasn't on the Avengers at the time. They didn't share that information with each other. And something real bad happens, and they realize that, hey, if they had shared that information, they could have prevented this catastrophe, right?
Right.
So they kind of, it's like even more secret than the Avengers, right? Because Iron Man will sometimes think, like, I can't tell all the Avengers this because they'll want to step in, and actually maybe stepping in isn't the right call here.
Especially at this moment in time.
Exactly. So I think it'll be cool to get a movie version of them. I think that Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk would be a cool part of the Illuminati.
Yeah.
Sort of the whole science bros thing.
Yeah.
Always
know.
good to see more of that.
I think that's a very interesting possibility. Also, lastly, there was, of course, some set photos that show the Sanctum Sanctorum, Doctor Strange's dope-ass house.
I just want all the wacky shit.
I just
Just give me the wacky shit.
more of that, please.
Give me that like cape pretending it's a rug and like tripping Tony Stark. Like, oh man.
Yeah, my absolute favorite character is probably Doctor Strange in the Marvel universe. And the reason for it isn't even that I like him on his own so much. I like his interactions with other characters. Specifically, there are moments where like there's one that I can remember. I don't know if it's from a comic or one of the cartoon shows or maybe even a game. It may be from Shattered Dimensions, actually, the Spider-Man game.
Really?
Yeah, maybe. Where Spider-Man gets some magical device and he's like, I know who I'll ask. And, you know, I got to go see Doc Strange. So he swings on down to Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum and like walks up in there. And just when he gets there, Doctor Strange is like levitating while reading from a book that's levitating and like astral projecting himself upward into the air above him. And his astral form is like fighting this crazy beast who was also in an astral form. And Spider-Man is just like witnessing this for a few seconds as he fights him back into the book that he's reading. And then the book closes and falls to the ground. And he opens his eyes and he's just like, oh, hey, Peter, how's it going? Like,
No, you've shown me pictures of this. It's from a comic.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like the moments where any character is in the Sanctum Sanctorum, it's like a classic trope that they witness some shit that doesn't get explained, but that is just so fucking weird and out there. And like they recognize that it's super fucking weird. And that always keeps Doctor Strange sort of like on his own level to an extent from everyone else, you know?
Yeah.
So any chance for some of those interactions to come to the movies, I'm excited for. I feel like the closest we got so far was the end credit scene between him and Thor, where he changes the drink and then keeps refilling his glass and stuff.
Yeah, and even that was enough of a taste to make me just want more immediately.
Yes. We also got some news late last weekend and early last week, or early this week, I guess, whatever, about Sony's Spider-Verse. Shut up. About Sony's Spider-Verse, or the Sony Marvel Universe, which I think is what they're calling it. I feel like Amy Pascal has referred to it as Sony's Marvel Universe.
Sony's Marvel Universe? Yeah, let's just fucking convolute the hell out of that.
But obviously the big news that I'm sure everybody has seen is that Amy Pascal has said, Amy Pascal, if you don't know, is a woman who is incapable of typing a coherent email. For more information, check out the Sony email hacks.
It's a hoot.
Jesus. You seen the one that's like the email she sent herself?
Yeah.
It's like,
What?
it's like 7 pages of just like rambling nonsense about her and her sister and her family. And she like shortens words. Like
that don't need to be shortened.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Where you just get like 4 to 5 letters per word, regardless of how many letters are actually in that word. It is like it's unreadable for sure.
See world.
Yeah. Are you saying you want to see the world, or you want to go to Sea World?
Oceans, fish, jump, China.
That's not helping.
Oh my god.
But the news is that Sony's Spider-Man-less Sonyverse may be Spider-Man-less no more. In an interview with her and Kevin Feige, that's how I'm pronouncing it now.
Okay.
Feige. Maybe Feige, I know.
I think it's Phage.
I think it's Feige.
Oh, well, I think you're wrong.
I'm going with Feige. In an interview with the two of them, she said that Tom Holland could appear in the Sony Spider-Man movies as Spider-Man, and that their movies are connected to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that they are adjuncts to it.
That's dumb.
A caveat here is the look on Kevin's face as all of this is happening in front of him.
Yes. During the interview, Kevin seems like this is news to him.
Or at the very least, he's very uncomfortable with someone stating it in those words.
Yeah, like as a fact. It's very confusing. A lot of people, a lot of articles online are taking Amy Pascal at her word and saying that that this is concrete fact now that the two universes are the same universe and are connected. I don't think that that's the case. I don't think we've had, until we get some very clear clarification from Kevin himself, I am dubious at best
Amy
about
Pascal,
all of her statements.
Yeah, she's speaking as someone who holds all the cards, when in reality, she's being propped up by Marvel's success.
Exactly.
I honestly think it might have been something that they were in talks about. Maybe they got particularly close, and perhaps Marvel backed off. She drops a little tidbit like that to get the court of public opinion churning.
Yeah,
and perhaps they're ready to move into that after people already think it's happening, because instead of is it happening, is it not happening, who knows, if it doesn't happen now, it's clearly because Marvel didn't want it to happen. People will be
like she thinks that she can leverage it to make them upset at Marvel.
Yeah, or leverage it to where Marvel's afraid that that's what people will think, and afraid that it will affect them negatively in some way. Don't know what could these days.
Yeah,
but I don't know. It really smelled of trying to play a hand.
Yeah. Now the fallout, if you will, of that is that she and various other producers and executives at Sony have been being grilled by the press, asking about more details than about their Spider-Man Sony-verse. Some of the information that they've revealed this week is that the Venom film will in fact feature Carnage as the villain. Spencer, here's a fun fact about Carnage. In my head, the character's name is Maximum Carnage.
Yeah.
Does that ever happen to you?
Especially when I was younger.
For sure.
When I actually did think the character's name was Maximum Carnage.
Dude, it still isn't in my head. I talked to my friend Justin about it, and he was laughing. He said that he does the same thing too.
Absolutely.
That you're probably a little too young, babe, to know, but Maximum Carnage was like a super popular comic series that kind of, I don't think it introduced Carnage. I think he was older than that, but it like
introduced me to Carnage.
Yeah, it introduced a lot of people to the character in the 90s, and it was also tied to a Super Nintendo game that was called Maximum Carnage, and like the cartridge was red, and it had just Carnage on the front, like looking over the New York City skyline. So I was like, oh, that's this character's name. Like
Maximum Carnage.
Yeah, this game is named after him. But it's not it's just Carnage, for clarification's sake.
I knew that.
I feel like they're gonna fuck it up, but I hate.
Well, that's got to be your default when we're talking about Sony.
Yes, but I hate that gets me even more excited, because I was confused as to how they could even go about making a Venom movie, because he's not a good guy, he's a villain. So I thought that they would have to go the route of Agent Venom, which I feel like they still might. It still might be a combination of Venom.
I feel like the studio would be more comfortable with that.
And Agent Venom.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a weird amalgamation of both of them, but also Carnage always puts Venom for sure in the sort of hero spotlight. So Carnage is the son of the Venom symbiote suit. It comes. Eddie Brock is imprisoned, and the suit leaves him. And
what?
Just stay with us here, okay?
Okay.
So Eddie Brock loses the suit, and he's imprisoned. The suit comes to break Eddie Brock out of prison because the symbiote suits are intelligent on their own organisms, right?
I thought, yeah, sure, okay.
Yeah. The
I thought they were like inherently bad.
The symbiote suits?
Yeah.
Kinda.
It depends on. I mean,
I don't know. I don't know.
Multiple
they're
symbiotes?
inherently.
Wait.
Yes.
I did not know that.
They're essentially a whole alien race. Yes.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
And they are for the most part inherently bad.
Okay.
They feed off of negative emotions.
Then why are they breaking him out of jail? Like,
because they
just want their host back, right?
They're named after a symbiotic relationship,
right?
Yeah.
So they form an attachment with their human host.
So they want their host back. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now the Venom thing, the whole thing with Venom is Venom's on Peter Parker first during the Secret Wars event. That's when he first gets the black suit, and it it wants Peter Parker because Peter Parker's already stronger than a regular human.
Gotcha.
But Peter Parker rejects it. It's emotionally hurt by that rejection.
Oh.
So now it hates Peter Parker. It joins up with Eddie Brock, who also hates Peter Parker and Spider-Man. So they're like a perfect couple, if you will.
Okay.
But anyways, at one point, Eddie Brock loses the suit. He's in prison. The suit comes to break him out. And you find out that they reproduce asexually. And while it's breaking him out, it leaves some of itself behind. And this becomes a new suit. Okay? A new symbiote. That's how the life form propagates.
Okay. Guess that makes sense.
They have no attachment to their offspring whatsoever. So it doesn't like... It doesn't ever mention to Eddie Brock that it left one behind or anything like that because it doesn't view it as a child or anything like that. Right.
It doesn't care.
So this other suit goes to the next cell over at this prison, and that's where Cletus Cassidy, fucking psychopath, like murderer is, who is way crazier than Eddie. Like Eddie Brock's not crazy. He's
just got a lot of hate.
Misunderstood.
Yeah, he's got a lot of hate, but he's honestly an all right guy. You know what I mean?
That makes
the
sense.
suit brings out the worst in him.
Okay.
So this offspring hooks up with this fucking psycho murderer, and that becomes Carnage. And Carnage is like when the suit gets on an already crazy person, the suit is crazy. It's like cranking that shit up to 11 as far as how many murders can we do at any given moment. We're gonna try to do them all.
Well, all right.
And this actually brings out the good side in the Venom suit, typically. So what'll happen is Spider-Man's going against Carnage. This is like a common reoccurring plot in the comics. Spider-Man's going against Carnage, and Venom signs up to, like, help Spider-Man. And it's like, look, because Venom views it as his responsibility to an extent.
But I thought, okay,
right.
Sure.
Doesn't reveal any responsibility in
creating it
or raising it or anything like that.
Because it didn't.
Right. But...
Okay.
It does, like, even the suit and Eddie Brock both, as separate people, are like, dude, the shit that this symbiote is doing is, like, that's fucked up. It should probably stop doing all these murders. I'm only in it for a couple of murders. This is a lot of murders.
And a specific type of murder as well. This is wanton.
Yeah. Like, is like all about, like, eviscerating people and, like, as much blood as possible and...
Okay.
So anyways, I feel like this is going to obviously be the plot of the movie to an extent,
Sure.
is Venom versus Carnage. But how do you do all that without establishing all that lengthy backstory and it being with Peter Parker and all that?
With that announcement, maybe that's what she's trying to do, is be able to make that movie better by establishing at least a little bit of that background. Because... I mean, as someone who wants to make a lot of money, doesn't want to see something fail, right?
Right.
So maybe that's what she was doing.
I just feel like there's no time for that to happen.
Yeah, that's my
fair.
concern. There are... I had just read that there's... The Spider-Man Homecoming movie has 2 after-credit sequences. How much money are you willing to put on one of them actually maybe is now going to be about Venom, though?
I would put a decent amount of money on that, actually. I mean... Yeah. I don't... Sony's going through with this.
Right.
So Marvel can either try to guide them and get on board at the ground floor to do some cool stuff later on, or just let him go without any input on what happens and hope for the best. And I don't know. They don't strike me as the type of organization of people who would let that much risk go when there could be a lot of reward on the table when they get their hands on the characters.
Right.
Yeah.
Being able to help shape it and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's definitely an interesting thing. I'll be interested to see how it evolves. Sony also revealed that some other projects that are in the works is a Kraven the Hunter movie,
which
that's cool, especially if you can have Spider-Man in it. That's one, because I'm curious about how they want to do all these movies based off of villains. It's not always an easy thing to have the villain be the main character of your movie, right?
I don't know.
I would argue
that.
that it is more often than not unsuccessful to have the villain.
Right. But it could be done well.
Everyone loves a good villain.
Everyone loves a good villain.
Yes, a good villain.
That's the key.
So if they do well...
So I think that the obvious pitfall is that you watch a movie any of these movies, whatever the villain is, fucking, I can't even remember his name, but Spot, the guy that has like the portal, the black,
Yeah.
you know who I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
I know who you're talking about.
Have you seen the famous panel where like Spider-Man goes to punch him in the chest and he punches one of the spots and his fist comes out of his face and he punches himself?
Yeah.
It's good shit. But take any dumb fucking villain, Spider-Man villain, and like you follow them through the whole movie, and then what? Tom Holland Spider-Man shows up in the third act and saves the day.
That's probably the only outcome it could be.
Exactly.
But
So how fucking
I mean, who knows?
how
what they're
rote
pull
is that
out of
gonna
their
get,
ass, you
and
know?
how quickly?
And I think maybe that's why I don't really like those. Like, don't like the character because the movies have just not been very good.
That's not true. Some of them are fucking
I
great
don't
movies.
think they are. They don't entertain me.
That's fair. The character's cool, and he has the ability to make some fantastic movies. There's a
Yes.
reason he is Spider-Man
But-
internationally is more popular and more recognizable than even Batman.
I understand that. That's fair. I know that he's a good character. I don't think he's a good character.
That's fine. That's fine. Now they're also Spencer making a Mysterio movie, supposedly.
Yeah, and I'm all ears and fish bowls.
I just don't get it.
I know you don't. You don't have to.
Here's what
Not
I don't
your
get.
time.
Here's what I especially don't get. Mysterio almost made sense when he was introduced, because his whole shtick is that like he's a special effects artist on movies, and all of his stuff was fake. It was all illusion, right?
Yeah.
And that was back when they actually had to create some
Practical effects. And
yeah, that was back with practical effects. Now we're in a day of CG. How is that even gonna work? And like once you realize that his stuff isn't real, he has nothing, absolutely nothing over you. To the point that the
But
comics
how can you...
have gone so far as to be like, well, he also has hypnotization powers. Like he can hypnotize you
Yeah.
to where you'll never realize that it's not real. And then it's like the whole,
then
like if
what-
his dumb illusion kills you, you die in real life. Like if you die in the game, you die in real life.
They ended up giving the Invisible Woman that barrier. Isn't that something that happened in the comics? Like,
Yeah.
oh, she can also have a shield.
Yeah, that wasn't always a part of her power set.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. Like you say, once you realize his stuff is not real, he's got nothing. But how do you discern what is real and what is not? They did that perfectly in Old
Because you
Man
can't
Logan.
touch it. Because a bunch of it you can't touch. That's what I always get to, is that just like, I mean, I guess you're right, because it is always a point in the comics that his illusions are so realistic that it also, like,
You think
It
you
fuck-
can do things to like touch it? You think that you can? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know this character.
Well,
it'll fuck up Peter's Spidey sense, which is like,
right. No, I know what Spidey sense is.
right, but it's hard to be able to like spoof that. You know what I mean?
I guess.
It'll either not register at all with him because it's not real, or it will register as being real. Like it kind of flip flops back and forth, but it doesn't affect his spider sense in the way that real things should, if that makes sense.
But
Okay.
that's why I like him especially as a foil to Spider-Man, because take Captain America. Mysterio would do nothing against Captain America because Mysterio's powers all have to do with psychological warfare. And I feel like Steve Rogers is very stable. You know, he's been through a lot and he, you know, kind of understands where his rock is. But with Peter Parker or some of these more inexperienced heroes,
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
he's gone through a lot of trauma and he's got a long way to go before he can hold his own in all scenarios. So I think the psychological aspects of his character are what make him work within that universe. Like, I don't accept the argument of, well, you can't touch it, so it's not real, so you should know it's not real, so you should just find Mysterio and beat the shit out of him. Mysterio knows that he's going to get the shit beat out of him by anyone who goes toe-to-toe with him. That's not his
Yeah.
shtick at all. So I think that there's a lot to work with Spider-Man and some of the more inexperienced heroes or just regular human beings that Mysterio would be quite effective
But
with.
here's the other thing. If this is a Mysterio-centric film, as a viewer, you're going to know from the get-go that his shtick is that it's all illusion and it's not real.
Yeah, what's the problem with that?
I don't know, wouldn't it be more interesting to have
If
him
you're
as
going
a
to a
villain in
Mysterio
Spider-Man.
movie, you already know that. Like,
I guess
mean,
that's
it's
fair.
like,
That's
if-
I didn't
if you
even think
go-
about that.
If you go to a Spider-Man movie, you know about
that's why in
Spider-Man.
Homecoming we're not going to
Right.
need to
It's
get with
not-
great power comes great responsibility. We know.
It's
I didn't even think about that though. How are they going to sell these movies? How are they going to
God.
convince you to go see a fucking Mysterio movie?
They convince people
I
to
don't
go
know.
see Ant-Man.
we went to see Ant-Man.
yeah,
But
That
we're
movie was
the
fucking
audience
good.
who would go see Ant-Man, but they got the average movie-going audience to go see Ant-Man because it was a Marvel movie.
Yeah, that's how they sold it.
that's true. That's true.
They had those Taco Bell things, didn't they?
Probably. I'm sure there was some Taco Bell tie-in somewhere. Is that why we went to see Ant-Man? Is that what you're suggesting?
That's why I wanted to go see Ant-Man.
You
Taco
were not
Bell
on board?
really sold me.
Paul Rudd, baby. That's why I
Taco
went.
Bell.
We also got some news from Fox regarding Fantastic Four, guys. They're doing it again.
Wait, what?
They're
I
making
didn't
it.
hear this.
Oh, you didn't hear
Oh
about
my
this?
God.
They're
No, stop.
They're trying to make
They're
a
redoing it again.
But
Didn't
hold
they
on.
redo it this year.
There's
no.
Or
It
was
was
it
last year.
20.
Oh my
yeah.
God! But
Or
still,
was it 2015?
It was 2015.
Yeah, time flies.
wow.
Time flies when you're watching bad movies.
We didn't go see that.
No, we didn't. I
I
refuse.
refuse to go see it.
I do too because
I
I saw
refuse
what
to
Doctor
see
Doom
any
looked
of
like
this.
in the trailers, and I don't ever want to see that pathetic version of my favorite villain
How
ever
many?
again.
How many times are they gonna redo this?
This will be the fourth time. This will be Fantastic Four the fourth time.
But there's a reason why.
Because they all suck.
No, because they want to keep the rights, presumably as some sort of bargaining chip, but I
Yes.
don't know why they think
if
they're going
if
to
they
get...
go X amount
Oh
of
my
time
God,
without
guys.
making a Fantastic Four movie, they lose the
Oh,
rights,
right, yeah,
and
you
and it automatically
you
reverts.
talked about that one.
The very first one. That's the first one ever made.
Oh my
Is
God!
like the direct to
yeah.
video, and then they didn't even release the videos. Shitty fucking early '90s
They didn't
Fantastic
release
Four.
them.
No, they
Oh
literally
my
wasted
God.
money making a movie just so they could legally say, "Yep, we made a Fantastic Four movie. We still have the rights."
Okay.
Thing looks surprisingly good.
Thing did. I mean, honestly, they all
Straight
look
up.
all right. Like the people and the costumes, that looks like the Fantastic Four. There's no problems there. Just a very low budget. Doctor Doom. We're gonna watch that movie someday. I'm gonna
Dr.
make you
Doom
watch
looks
it.
like the most faithful adaptation of
he
Dr.
does.
Doom.
Yes, he does. Doctor Doom is actually looks like Doctor Doom in that movie. It's about as much as you could have optimistically hoped for in an early '90s Doctor Doom rendition. But this one is supposed to be kid friendly.
Oh my God!
Inspired
I am
by
so
The Incredibles.
Sick.
Yeah, inspired by the
of
Incredibles.
that.
Inspired by the Incredibles. The main characters
Okay,
are supposed to
well,
be.
The Incredibles. That movie was pretty good.
That is good. Yeah,
It's
for
a
sure.
good movie.
That
sure it
that
is.
was a
But
that,
this movie is not going to be fucking
Right,
good.
that's Pixar. That's a whole nother level from.
also
fucking
those
Fox.
characters
Send it to
and that
fucking
whole
Pixar, I
thing
don't
was written
care.
around the idea that we want to make a kid-friendly, family-centric superhero movie with a family of superheroes. We're writing all of these characters and their backgrounds and their development based on this concept.
Well, you are describing the Fantastic Four right now.
What?
Hey.
That is what Fantastic Four is all about, a family of superheroes. Like, that's their whole shtick, is that they're all family. And everything that they deal with is family
What I'm
issues.
saying is The Incredibles was written and the concept from the get-go was this is going to be family, kid-friendly.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
And that's,
yeah.
that's
the
this
ch-
concept.
But it's okay. Take it from the point of view that supposedly the protagonists are going to be their two children.
Right, yeah. The main characters aren't going to be the Fantastic Four. It's going to be the kids of the Fantastic Two of Mr. and Mrs. Richards, which
Well, I
is
mean, but still,
Franklin
like,
Richards
they have
and
got,
Valeria
like,
Richards.
Just
But
stop
Franklin Richards,
already,
his
like, you know?
his whole history in the comics is very tumultuous and very much raw and fucked up.
Yeah, he's crazy. He's like supremely powerful. Franklin Richards is. He's like a little kid that can erase and rewrite the universe at will.
I mean, that sounds cool, but it's not gonna be a good movie. Like,
Probably
it's not going to be.
because it is Fox.
Like, end of story. I'm not gonna go see it because I know their track record. Like,
How
not
would
gonna be
you?
good.
So suppose that Marvel gets the rights to Fantastic Four at some point. How do you think they can introduce the Fantastic Four into their already established in Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Reed Richards worked with Bruce Banner at one point. It's hard because the Marvel Universe is already so established. The more movies they come out with, the less easily it's not nearly as simple to just bring someone new into the fold. I was surprised they did it as well as they did it with Doctor Strange without it feeling, well, rather strange.
Well, I think that worked because of the whole magical aspect being very different from anything else that they had dealt with. And I feel like individual characters are okay, but the Fantastic Four...
That's a package deal.
Yeah, and the two that are hardest to do, I think, would be... And I know we want them to get the rights to the Fantastic Four and to the X-Men. The X-Men would equally be hard to do.
Yes.
Because it's not like you can introduce...
I think the X-Men would be infinitely harder to do.
Because here is... Suddenly, we haven't even talked about it, but there's hundreds of thousands of fucking new characters that have existed the whole time.
And they've got a school.
I mean, honestly, I think if anyone could do it, Marvel could do it. You know, out of any company, I have the faith in Marvel the most to make a good fucking movie.
Sure,
you know?
but with all of the times that I've had this conversation, I've had an idea of how they would do it. Like, if they just do this, it'll be awesome. If they do this, it'll be awesome. I don't have any answers.
I think it would be cool if they... Go ahead.
I'm sure that they would have a plan for it. I'm sure they already have a plan for it if they got it. You know?
That's probably
true.
a fair point.
Like,
yeah, they have.
they already got this covered. They got it in their heads. They just got to get the rights.
Here's what we do if we get them by this movie. Here's what we do if we get them by phase 5.
Exactly. Like, that's why I say I have the most faith in them.
I just feel like it would be very hard to introduce them as new characters, like to do like an origin movie as if this just happened.
I don't think they would have to, though.
There's an argument to be made for that after how, I mean, that's what they're doing with Spider-Man. Don't need to introduce him.
Exactly.
So that's what I was thinking. I think a funny route would be if they ever got the rights to just do like they're dealing with some sort of tech problem, like do it in an Avengers movie, sort of like how they introduced a couple of new characters in Civil War.
Yeah.
And they just kept them coming and it was pretty smooth and it worked. Have them dealing with some tech problem that Tony can't fucking figure out.
Yeah.
And then one of the characters sheepishly suggests, like, well, maybe we can talk to the Richards family. And Tony is like,
nope,
no,
not gonna do
absolutely not. And like everybody is like, I know they're the worst. Like, oh my God, they're so pretentious. But like, we may finally need their help, guys. And just indicate that they have been there the whole time.
Yep.
And the only reason that they haven't been around is because
they
none of the characters that we've been following like them very much. Because,
I like that.
Because Reed Richards is just such an insufferable fucking prick. I don't know. I think that'd be great. But yeah, we'll maybe get in a kid-friendly Fantastic Four movie.
Peter Parker reveals that he's secretly been talking to Johnny the whole time, and he's like, I'm so glad you guys are going to make up.
Yeah, that's the real reason I want him, dude, is just for Peter Parker to race Johnny Storm around New York through all the little rings. Now, we also got some DC news. DC execs and producers were talking a lot about the universe this week. They'd said a lot of things about Wonder Woman's success. They kind of owned up to the failures of Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman. They said that they admit that it was too dark. There wasn't enough hope in the movie.
Oh.
And that's why they think it failed.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
That's good. Good.
And then they said that them making an R-rated movie is an eventuality.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, yeah.
Really?
Huh?
You think so? You want that?
It's not that I want that specifically, but hearing that news, I'm not inherently put off by it. They said, first of all, it's an eventuality.
Yeah.
It was an eventuality for an R-rated... I think there are a number of scenarios where they could do that and make it look good. Maybe put it on the back burner for a movie or two. But I think once they get to the point where Justice League has happened and they're starting to work on what their other solo movies are going to be, they could dedicate one of those to being rated R for one reason or another. Because rated R doesn't automatically mean darker and grittier. That's not what makes a movie rated R.
Right.
Sure.
So like, make a villain just more villainous. Very bad. Like,
they could do a movie where the Joker is just vivisecting people, but it's...
Yeah.
Then we get Jared Leto doing it, and it's going to be terrible.
I mean, it doesn't have to be that character. any villain, you know, it could end up being a good thing. You know?
Give me the Mad Hatter movie.
Oh God. Yeah, I don't know. Like rated R versions, I feel like.
Logan was rated R, wasn't it?
Yeah, no,
and
it
that
was.
movie was fucking good.
Yeah, because that's a dude who has 6 knives for hands, so that makes sense. Like, I feel like the DC comics are brighter and more kid friendly in general than the Marvel comics are.
Yes.
So part of why the movies haven't been so great is because they are already trying to make their movies more violent and more graphic than the Marvel movies to separate them. And I feel like that's not the direction they need to go in.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Wonder Woman was not a good movie because it was dark and violent and gritty or anything like that. Like,
you're right.
I feel like
but again, they're not.
Did they give any details about this R-rated movie?
No.
I don't want
Okay,
Wonder Woman
then
to be rated R.
Who from DC could you possibly think would dictate an R-rated movie though? Like, you fucking graphic, violent Plastic Man,
No, but
super hyper, fucking bloody, gory Green Lantern. Like, I mean,
the Red Lantern Corps.
Yeah.
they do vomit blood everywhere.
That'll make a movie rated R in a hot second.
From PG-13 to rated R in seconds, man.
I'm in it if we get to see Dexter like eat a human corpse
Yeah,
and
you
then
see,
give an adorable meow.
there are occasions where it could occur.
No, you've convinced me. I'm for it now.
Red Lantern movie, here we come. R.
Coming
Red
2018.
Dexter the movie.
Yes, I'm down. Give it to me.
We got some cool video game news this week. Obviously, Overwatch has a new map and a new update that came out on Tuesday. How do you guys like the new map?
It's fine. It's really hard and a little bit too open, but I think that constitutes well for the snipers, which there aren't a lot of maps for snipers to do really, really well in. So I think this could be good for those people who like to...
Those people.
Yes, those people. I'm not a good sniper.
Those filthy fucking Hanzo and Widowmaker.
Dude,
God
Dude,
damn it,
we were-
Hanzo mains.
We were playing last night, and every fucking round we had, like how it gives you the team comp warnings off to the right?
Yes.
We had the
Too many snipers?
Yes, because
Too
we had
many
a fucking Widow and a Hanzo every single time.
Yep.
It's like, dude, one of you switch, preferably both.
Got real tilted up in this room.
I'm still passing judgment on the map. I still don't think I like the first part of it.
No, the first capture point's terrible.
Yeah, the first capture
so
point is
hard.
not great.
It's by-
They should move it to a different area in the map, I think. Like, because I think
Well,
this
that
map
room
could
is
be moved.
specifically set up to be, like, clearly they planned that out carefully.
Right. It's by far my least favorite map addition since, like, the vanilla game came out.
Yeah.
For sure, without a doubt.
I still don't really like the Eichenwald. Is it Eichenwald?
What? I
Eichenwald.
love
I don't
Eichenwald.
like
That's
that
one of my
map.
favorites.
I don't like that map. at
Oh
all.
no, dude, I love that one
don't
so
know.
much. That
Yes.
goes through so many different changes as the
I get that, but I
The
don't
payload
really.
progresses.
I don't really
The
care
second
for
part
it.
when you're on the bridge and everything's so open,
Yeah,
that's a argument to be made for open design well done.
Yeah. I feel like that map more than most kind of brings home the idea of switching characters mid-fight because
Yeah.
there's certain sections that characters do better or worse than other sections of the map. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
But
It's just not my favorite map.
Spencer, I know you have plenty to say about the nerfs to Roadhog.
Yeah, it's fucking bullshit, and I'll tell you why. So, the idea of compensation for a nerf is always something to take into consideration when you're upset that one of the characters in any game that you play gets nerfed. You gotta look at the things that they did to compensate for that and the reasons why they felt they needed to make the change. So, biggest change, Roadhog's damage is down a full third of its previous total damage. What this immediately does is make his most useful function, which is the hook, one-shot to two-shot kill combo on 70% of the heroes.
Yeah, all the ones that are only at like 200 health, right?
200 to 250.
Yeah.
You can take him out one shot with one hook. This punishes people who are out of position as well, because if you can nab Lucio and stay on him after the fact, you have a very good chance of taking him out with that combo as well. That is out the window. Hooking basically does nothing unless you have your team with you. You're playing Roadhog a bit more like Diva, where you're sticking with the team. There are people who are going to assist you with any of your combos or attempted eliminations. It's a completely different change of Roadhog's playstyle.
Yeah.
Because
I did notice that
his
last night.
self-heal allows you to kind of go away from the team a little bit and take care of business yourself. Find out who's in position, who's not, which ones you can pick out and take out. The things that they did to compensate for this was increase your clip by 1 from 4 rounds to 5 before you reload, and increase your fire rate by, I think, 25%.
Okay.
I thought they increased the reload time too.
That's entirely possible. I don't remember reading that in the patch notes. It doesn't help.
Okay.
His sustained DPS might be similar, but that's not why you play Roadhog.
I had seen that it is lower. The for sure.
Is the sustained DPS even it is still lower even with the compensation?
Yeah.
You see, that's what it felt like, but there was still different data being thrown up on the subreddit, so I didn't know who to believe, and I certainly couldn't measure it beyond feelings myself.
Right.
But no, I think it's a bad decision. I think it makes Roadhog just a bad choice unless you are in arcade playing 1v1. He still can be an annoyance, but that's just because of the self-heal.
Right.
It's not because of his functionality anymore.
So he's not like he used to be a flanker more than a real tank.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're trying to at least push him into the role of like
tank.
a frontline tank.
But you're better off playing a frontline tank with a blocking
with a
ability.
Shield,
yeah, at that point.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And with Reaper's added buff, a Roadhog is just a sponge. It's just an ult sponge now.
Reaper is supposed to be an anti-tank character. I think that Reaper's buffs were needed.
I like Reaper's buffs. As a previous Roadhog main, I'm fine with it, but
yeah.
They also decreased Roadhog's headshot box.
His head hitbox is
which has
smaller,
really
but
screwed me up a lot, actually, recently, because
Yeah.
I soldier main, and I could take a Roadhog out no problem, but it's a little bit harder now.
Yeah,
So,
to nail
I mean,
the headshots
yeah.
to do the more damage before he can self-heal.
Right,
over and over.
exactly. Oh my god.
I just don't like feeling useless, and ever since the patch, I've felt very useless if I'm playing Roadhog.
You
And-
never
makes
feel
sense.
you never feel useless to me, man.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
They also, like I said, I liked Reaper's buffs. I think that was well done. I never play as McCree, so I don't give a shit about his apparently he was buffed. somehow.
You used to have to wait 0.8 seconds to trigger or to lock on with his ult.
Oh,
Now
okay.
it's
Now it's
0.2 seconds.
yeah.
I've noticed more people playing McCree. I'm not convinced that anyone's any better with McCree or that he's a better choice.
Yeah.
No,
Also,
I
I play
agree.
as Diva a lot, so I just eat.
Doesn't matter.
I just eat that ult every time. Doesn't
Fair,
make a
get the
difference to
fuck
me.
out.
Now I can eat it quicker, I guess.
Yep, there you go.
They
Save
also
that bar.
They have some changes on the public test servers right now. I'm super excited for the crosshair changes.
Yes.
They're giving you way more customization options for crosshairs. You've messed around with your crosshairs, right?
Yeah, and it changed my game dramatically. I'm excited to see what they add even further.
Do you
it's really cool.
Do you use the short crosshair?
I use short crosshairs on almost all of my heroes.
So now you can control the gap in between it.
Really?
Yeah.
Which is real big. That's like a Counter-Strike thing.
Yeah.
You want it. It's pretty good where it is, but it's a little too small.
Yeah.
A little bit of a bigger gap, and you can see their fucking mug from
Yes.
behind your crosshair to know you're lining up perfect headshots every time.
Can't wait for that to go live.
Yeah,
me either.
that's the thing that I'm most excited for. They're also changing the loot boxes so you get less duplicates, but that also I feel like means you get less gold to actually buy the things you want that you'll never get in a loot box. when
Exactly.
a new
That
event
makes
happens.
sense.
So I don't know if that's a good thing or not.
Aren't they introducing golden loot boxes soon?
Actually, if
They
you
have
have
one.
Amazon
Well,
Prime,
I got
you
that
can do
one.
that. Yeah.
I got it.
No, they're not on the PTR or anything like that yet. No.
I imagine they have plans, though. They've got to have plans. They exist, and
Yeah, I'm sure that they do. I don't really care about those. I just want whatever the newest anniversary, or not anniversary, but the newest event Diva skin is
yeah.
really all I ever want in the game. So,
I hope it's not too long until the next event. I hope they
usually have them up pretty quickly after.
Well, I was
an
reading
event.
that there's 2 new maps that were data mined.
I saw
on
that.
Reddit, yeah.
One in
And-
I didn't see
India.
that.
And that probably they'll be announced at BlizzCon. So there probably won't be any events at least until after BlizzCon.
When is that?
When is BlizzCon? Is that in July or
I have
September?
no reason to remember that.
Some other news that we should hear at BlizzCon is the official unveiling, perhaps, of the remastered Warcraft 3 and Diablo 2 games.
Have no idea why it took them so long to realize this is a cash cow.
I'd be
know,
okay
dude.
with Diablo 2. I'm not super great.
As
on
a non-RTS player, as a turn-based strategy player, Warcraft 3 is one of my favorite games from my childhood.
I tried
Warcraft
to
3
play it,
is
and it's not-
perfection in RTSs.
That's fine. I just really like the Diablo franchise. Like, I like it.
Yeah, Diablo's cool. I'm down on a Diablo 2
Okay, cool.
remaster. That's a real popular
Cool
game. I
AF.
get
It's
it.
so much fucking fun with Diablo 3. I never got to play Diablo 2 with people. Like, I never got to have
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
experience as a kid.
That's true. That's
So-
true.
But no, way more excited for Warcraft 3.
Yeah, dude, Warcraft 3, I think the reason it's so good is that it balances the units and their upgrades and what you do with them, the base building mechanics,
Yes.
and the defense and all that stuff, and then the importance of hero units better than any other game.
I agree.
It seems like other games, they're really like the units and the heroes are everything, and there really is no base building mechanics to speak of. Like the Warhammer 40k RTS games are like that. Like you plot down buildings, but they don't fucking matter. It doesn't matter where you put them.
Yeah.
It doesn't even really matter what upgrades you get for them or anything like that from a defense.
You're trying to pump
standpoint.
out those units.
Yeah, you're constantly fighting a 2-front battle
Yes.
in that game, and a good match of that, you are always on the offense and on the defense at the same time, and bouncing back and forth between those fights, and it's just so fucking good.
Not to mention the lore that it
Yeah.
introduced me to blew me away.
Oh yeah, dude, that was where the Warcraft universe fucking blew open.
Yeah,
And,
it
like,
really hit its stride.
never would have gotten a World of Warcraft without first having Warcraft 3 and its success. So super pumped to see that. An interesting thing I read this week, the expansion for XCOM 2 is introducing something similar to the Nemesis system from Shadow of War.
Really?
Yeah.
Shadow of Mordor.
Shadow of Mordor. I was
Yes.
thinking of God of War.
It's quite all right.
Or
as we call
That's
it, Fun
really
Assassin's
exciting.
Creed.
Yeah, fun Assassin's Creed, exactly.
Good.
So like the main baddies that they introduce will survive from battle to battle at times, and they'll talk about and remember their previous exploits and like
Okay.
taunt you for it and stuff like that,
Oh man.
and develop as characters over time.
This in addition to the previous introductions that we're getting with this expansion that
The
were
whole-
previously announced.
Yeah, the relationships forming between your soldiers and
squad
stuff.
mates, yes, which is, a main reason why a lot of people play that game is
Yes.
because of their headcanons about the relationships.
Yeah. I totally
Um,
like that.
I think it's fucking badass. I'm super
digging it.
pumped. I'm really surprised it's taken this long for another game to recycle the Nemesis system idea.
I know, that's all we talked
God,
about
it's
when
so
Shadow of
good.
Mordor came out was
Right?
I can't wait for people to rip this off, and people didn't.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense to me, but we're finally getting it slowly but surely. We also Destiny 2. Did you see Destiny 2's rewards for Destiny 1 players?
No,
You get
I'm already mad.
you get a couple of emblems, dude.
You get
Oh
a couple
my
of
fucking
emblems?
God.
Yep. All
Really?
that bullshit and time and effort, all that, and you just get a couple of emblems.
This is why I don't play MMOs anymore, man.
Man, and I was so excited for Destiny 2. Maybe I just won't buy it.
I spent entire days of my life trying to go through raids with random groups that I had met online because there was no matchmaking system or anything like
Ah.
that in Destiny 1, where like 2 of them didn't speak English and one of them was just a big Debbie Downer, and we just kept dying and kept dying and kept dying. and all I'm gonna get is an emblem or nothing because I don't. They have different requirements. I didn't even do
So
all the.
probably
Well,
raids.
were you doing all that stuff so that you would get rewarded when the next game came out and you spent $60 on it? That's, I guess, my
That's fair. That's fair. I see what you're
confusion
saying.
is like,
Okay.
Maybe I'm being entitled.
maybe you just
Well,
fucking
from all the
convinced yourself
bullshit.
for a year and a half that you were having fun playing a game, and now that you realize you weren't having fun playing a game,
Yeah.
you want Bungie to reward you for sticking around.
And then lastly, we got some news about Godzilla, dude.
We got some we got the news about Godzilla, baby.
Hey.
The new Godzilla movie, the sequel to was it 2014? I think it was 2014.
Yes.
Was when Godzilla came out.
Was it 2014?
I think so.
Was it
Yeah.
2014?
Maybe
Maybe
it was
2015. Who knows? How can anyone know?
What is a
We could
year?
look it up.
But the new Godzilla
look it
movie is going to feature
Mothra.
Rodan
Hit 'em.
Mothra.
and King Ghidorah.
Mothra.
Hit him.
I know Mothra
Mothra.
and Rodan
Mothra.
and King Ghidorah.
Who are the
Little
top
kitties.
5 Godzilla villains of all time?
Mothra.
Mothra.
Mothra. Mothra.
Rodan and individually all 3 heads on King Ghidorah. I think the inclusion of those characters, all 3 of them at once, is a fucking guarantee that it's going to be kind of a recreation of, I can't think of the name of it, but the original movie that introduced King Ghidorah, because it was Godzilla fighting Rodan,
Yeah.
and then Mothra wakes up and realizes that King Ghidorah is coming and tries to convince Godzilla and Rodan to work together with her to fight King Ghidorah, and then they're like, no, and then she goes, and then she ends up getting killed,
Yeah.
and then Godzilla and Rodan are like, oh man, that was such a brave giant moth. We should honor her, and then they fight and wreck King Ghidorah.
Oh man, that was such a brave giant moth.
So I wonder if we'll get an updated take on the twins, dude, the fairy twins.
The little cuties.
Do you think we'll get the fairy twins, Spencer?
I will
Do I
if we
think
don't.
we'll get the fairy twins? No.
Okay.
Do I hope we get the fairy twins? Absolutely.
We got Atomic Breath.
Yeah, that was one,
We
and it was
fucking better
the,
get-
as previously
Get
stated,
'em. We better get him.
I bet they won't be fairy sized. I bet that there's gonna be something similar to them, like a priestess or something, but it's gonna
some
be a
sort of
regular
auspicious.
person. Yeah, but it'll be a regular person. It's not gonna be a little 12-inch fucking person.
I swear to God, if
I
Hollywood
really
could just
need
learn
them
to
to-
stick to the source material.
I bet we do get some version of the song though, dude. That's what I'm really up for. I want the Masura.
I love it. Love every second of it. Mothra is the best.
Yeah, dude.
Mothra 5 ever.
I cannot fucking wait though. Like, that's probably got me more excited initially than like just from a headline than anything else that I had seen this week. Like,
It's such huge news.
just all 3 of them all at once.
Yeah.
I was not fucking expecting that.
and it came out of nowhere, just
Yeah.
over the weekend. Oh, hey.
And they just
Hey,
flat out
guess what?
stated it. They were
Yeah.
like, "Here's the synopsis for Godzilla 2. It's gonna be all these fucking guys. Have fun.
Have fun.
It's gonna be a good time."
We've been keeping it under wraps whether we were even going to use Mothra. And now you get Mothra, now you get Rodan.
Well, they were shown at the end of all 3 of them were shown at the end of Skull Island, the Kong movie.
Really?
Yeah, it shows like cave paintings of a giant moth, a big pterodactyl, and a 3-headed dragon thing. But still, I thought that was gonna be like we're telegraphing the next 3 fucking movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's pretty
No.
fucking cool news.
Next movie.
Mothra.
Mothra.
Masura.
They gotta do it. They have to do it.
They have to have the little cuties.
I think that pretty much does it for news this week, though. Did you guys see anything else to speak of?
Not particularly, no.
No,
Cool.
I don't think so.
Masura. All right, guys. So this week's main topic, anime. Spencer.
Anime. You can't live with it?
No, there's definitely some great anime, like some amazing, fantastic anime, in fact. But the majority of it is not good, right? That's the consensus of why we say we're not really fans of anime.
Not just the majority of it is not good. I would say of the majority that isn't good, the majority of that is outrageously bad.
Now, counterpoint. Would you not say that the majority of all films made are bad?
That is such a bullshit point.
Well, how is that a bullshit point? Or, okay, fine, the majority of all music made
films
isn't bad.
are a medium.
Yeah.
So is anime.
Yeah, it's animation.
Okay,
Yeah.
but you're not saying
Chup.
most animation is bad. I guess it's splitting hairs at this point.
The majority of all fucking, I don't know, man.
Would you not say that the
Crime
majority of all
dramas are
television is bad? The majority of...
Yeah. But you can get more specific. You can list a genre. So you consider it a genre.
Most of everything is bad.
I would
Yeah.
say that as a genre, it is probably one that is the most... I see the farthest extremes. Like you brought up crime dramas.
Right.
I would say that almost all of them are bad, and there aren't very many of them that are like so fucking good.
But like Silence of the Lambs and Seven are really good.
Yeah, but I'd say that there's more that piques my interest if we're talking specifically on the side of anime than there would be. I don't know. But I'm saying that with anime, you go from sensual bakery time, hands on their hips, schoolgirls, to Howl's Moving Fucking Castle. Like, you know what I mean? There's such a disparate level of quality there.
Sure.
And I would consider Howl's Moving Castle to be one of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my life.
Perhaps the same could be said for all things.
Howl's Moving Castle is one of the best fucking movies ever.
But I guess part of it is the culture.
Yeah.
Because when you're talking about anime, it's not like when you're talking, we're just going to keep using this, crime dramas. You're not talking about the culture of people who listen to like true crime podcasts or anything like that when you're talking about crime dramas. When you talk about anime, you are inherently also speaking to the culture and fandom surrounding anime.
So you think that the fans of anime are the worst part about anime?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying
sounds like
I'm
you're
saying
saying-
I'm saying that
It sounds like you're saying that if anybody's listening to this who is a fan of anime, that you hate them, Spencer.
Well, probably, but that goes back into the whole general rule. I generally don't like anime if you ask me, and if you like anime, I generally don't like you.
So
Wow.
This is a joke. This is just a little joke, little jokey
Shit.
joke.
what about
Jokey joke.
what about anime character body pillows?
Ugh.
See, this is what I'm talking about. this is what I'm talking about. You're talking about the culture as a whole, and while personally I would never point at a dude and say, you are fucking stupid for that, and you should feel bad for that thing that makes you happy, I wouldn't say that to a person. I would say that behind his back.
Okay.
Brutal.
It sounds like you're kink shaming, I think. They fuck those pillows, right?
There's no hole to fuck the... No, they just take them to prom.
Okay. Anyways.
Good anime. Let's talk about good anime.
Jeff, what's your favorite anime? We'll say series. What's your favorite
anime series of all time is Cowboy Bebop, for sure.
Okay. What's your favorite television series?
My favorite television series. Oh, I see what you're doing here. The Office.
The Office?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Probably. But I see what you're doing. It's a lot harder to... Is that where you were?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I thought you were gonna have to mull that second question over a little bit more.
I did, for sure. What's your favorite anime series, Christina?
This is gonna get you both to make fun of me.
I'm not gonna make fun of you for it.
You already have.
She would not tell me before the episode began so that I could hear it now with you.
Number one all-time favorite.
Inuyasha.
It is Inuyasha?
See?
It's fucking
You heard it here first.
Inuyasha?
Yeah, it is.
My guess was Hamtaro, but
Hamtaro is definitely second.
Hams.
I love Hamtaro. It's so cute.
Fucking get out of your own apartment.
But I'm not gonna fucking get out of my own apartment. You get out of my apartment.
I will not.
Fight me.
So what do you like about Inuyasha?
Man, again, it like as
Is it
I
the
told
fangs?
you,
It's probably the fangs.
Yeah, of course the fangs. Not really, but it's been a really, really long time since I've watched Inuyasha. I was probably not even a teenager yet.
Yeah.
And I mean, I liked the kind of vague love story, and I mean, I honestly thought that the monsters like that they fought were pretty cool. And I mean, demon dog person, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Inuyasha's
As much as it's fucking anime bullshit, I like it.
Well, I don't have a problem specifically with quote unquote anime bullshit because some of my favorite. I fucking watched. I mean, the Dragon Ball universe is filled to the brim with anime bullshit, but I can pick it out and enjoy the parts that aren't that. And even like the way I describe it sometimes is as an adult who listens to pop punk. You kind of gotta let yourself be embarrassed by certain things, and it's almost like a suspension of disbelief kind of feeling. Like you have to kind of tune.
I'm not embarrassed by pop punk at all.
Well, you gotta
share that to the world.
Tune some of the cheesiness out and just allow yourself to accept it. Like, yeah, this might seem a little silly, but it's fine because overall the product is good. And that's how I feel with a lot of anime. But if it's more that than it is content that I enjoy, then I cannot even express to you how quickly I will shit on it.
So,
it's so fast I will turn on a show.
So here's the thing. Jeff admitted that he has never really watched it. Have you ever really watched Inuyasha?
Yeah, a good friend of mine who I spent entire summers with was a huge.
Okay, then you can shit on it.
Sean actually introduced me to anime in general. I watched my first episode of Gundam Wing at Sean's behest, and my first episode of Cowboy Bebop at Sean's behest.
Well, then that's fine. I'll allow you to shit on it. Jeff is not allowed to shit on it anymore.
I've watched episodes of it. Absolutely, I have.
Told me last night that he
I haven't sat down and watched the whole series, but when I was very young and it was on, I barely remember it, but for sure I watched it.
All right, well, whatever.
Like I said, it was on Toonami. I watched Toonami.
I just dig it a lot. I like it. Who cares?
That's fine. No, I'm not trying to attack you for liking it. I think that like it seems like all three of us at least enjoy the anime that we watched when we were kids, but when was the last time that we saw a new anime?
It wasn't it's been a while, and it wasn't a series.
Right.
Like it's been films that people have recommended to me that are whole cohesive features as opposed to me getting into a series. So that's true. I was actually about to bring up that point. Sometimes I feel like I'm less qualified to speak on this than I think I am, because most of the anime that I enjoy would be the anime that most American kids enjoy if you ask them, and they're like kind of casual observers of it, the Dragon Ball, the Gundam, that kind of stuff.
The newest one for me was Cowboy Bebop, because I had never watched it when I was a kid, and you introduced it to me, Jeff.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, so
I
still haven't watched all of it, but
so it's just not something that any of us would ever seek out, it seems like. Is that fair?
I would say probably, yeah.
I would, yeah, but to expand on that, I would say it's something that I wouldn't seek out, because of the ones that I have encountered without seeking out, I've not seen what the benefit would be to diving into that.
Yeah.
I haven't had enough introduced to me to where I would want to put a whole lot of energy into seeking out new anime. I'm always wanting to seek out new forms of other genres, but from what I've been introduced to and from what I've seen, I don't see the point. I feel like I have, unless because Attack on Titan was the biggest explosion.
Of a new one.
Even people in the West just losing their shit.
Right.
People who didn't even like anime, and I didn't remember a reaction in the West to something like that since maybe Death Note was playing on Adult Swim.
Yeah. I tried to watch the first 3 episodes of Attack on Titan and just
I
didn't give a shit about it.
I did not give a single shit about it.
Mm-hmm.
And people were so emotionally invested from the get-go, and I just didn't understand. It's pretty, if not a little brown, but I
don't even think it's pretty. It fucking freaks me out, dude. I don't like the looks of the Titans at all.
Well, I don't think that's the idea. I think the idea is for you to be off-put by the look of the Titans,
no, for sure. I think I'm too off-put by it. I don't know. I think One Punch Man was one that came and was super popular. And it's more recent.
It seemed like that came and went, though.
That's true. Attack on Titan is still really popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think that there's not many series that I like. I like you said earlier, I like movies more, like some good anime movies more than I do most series.
Mm-hmm.
Like to me, Cowboy Bebop may as well be a movie.
Yeah.
When I watch it, I don't watch every episode. You know, I watch the ones. I don't watch the
Filler episodes.
yeah, like the Ed specific episodes and some of the filler episodes. I watch the one that's all about Jet's backstory, the one that's all about Faye's backstory, and then other than that, it's the Spike and Vicious specific episodes. You know what I mean? And to me, that's like, you know, a 2-part movie that is fucking fantastic.
I will say that I think it's served better in a long form rather than a short form for whatever reason.
Cowboy Bebop?
No,
specifically,
anime.
or okay, really?
Like for some of the stories that they try to put across, yeah. Especially for an audience that maybe doesn't want to put in the time like me to digest all of it.
I see what you're saying.
It's a lot to take in.
Some movies that I like, as far as like anime movies go, obviously Studio Ghibli things are fantastic, pretty much all of them. But I feel like that's a given.
Yeah, it's almost cheating to bring that up.
Non-Studio Ghibli ones would be Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. God, I fucking love that movie. That's damn near a perfect fucking anime movie. And it's like a sequel to a not good movie.
Yeah.
Not even that the original one was bad, but the original was very old. It's from the 80s and it's hasn't aged well. You know, like anime from that period for the most part doesn't age well.
Certainly, yeah.
Like with the exception of I think Akira. And Akira was the first one that certainly came to Western audiences that had enough production put into it that like, because that's the cool thing about hand animation is that if it's done at a certain quality level, it is ageless and timeless. It will never age. You know what I mean?
People are still watching Snow White.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And even more than Snow White, I think that like they had really perfected their hand animation techniques with something more like The Lion King. You know what I mean? Like, like The Lion King is never going to appear dated.
Old,
yeah,
right.
You're never going to see it and think they could have done that hand animation better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think Akira was the first one to really hit that. The original Ghost in the Shell movie is very similar as well. Cowboy Bebop is falls into that purview. And the second Vampire Hunter D movie does as well. And it tells just such a... Anime can at times tell such weird stories. And
It's true.
And it's usually... It seems like a level of weird that we don't like.
Yeah.
But occasionally, it's a level of weird that I'm just like 100% all about. And Vampire Hunter D hits that because like there's nothing else... Because as a whole, I like the idea of vampires, right?
Mm-hmm.
But most vampire media kind of sucks.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And like, I like occult stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I like science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
And Vampire Hunter D and I like gothic, you know, architecture and like storylines and stuff. And it's just all that fucking combined in such a perfect level. Like, the opening shot is a big fucking gothic looking like space station.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that is in space where vampires have been going to stop being persecuted on Earth. And vampires and humans can live there together. And it establishes that like that's a thing that exists. And then it talks about how vampire hunters are like the bounty hunters of this world, and it's such a weird, timeless world because there's a space station, but people are brought around by, like horse and buggies, right? And like
Weird.
there's like a tank in it that is kitted out for fighting against vampire hordes, and it has like these big UV floodlights that are in the shape of a cross that like are used as weapons. Like it just bombards you constantly with really cool ideas that you intrinsically understand. Like when they crank open the lights, they're not like, this is going to hurt the vampires because it's UV light and it's in the shape of a cross. You're
Wait,
like,
you know that.
yeah, you know vampires
already
hate
know
light and you know they don't like crosses. So they just fucking turn it on and you just instinctively get it as it sweeps across this whole horde and burns them all up. And like, I don't know, anime I think at times can do that better than some other mediums can. Like if that was a live action movie,
That would not work.
I don't think it would work. I don't think it would be a good live action movie.
I think that's what anime does best.
Yes.
A look at one of my personal favorites from childhood was Outlaw Star.
Oh yeah.
And
The fist fighting
the
spaceships.
fist fighting spaceships, yes, but they fought. There's a character who fought using like a wooden sword. There's the main device of like the main character Gene's combat is that he has a gun that's called a caster.
Right.
And it's all science fiction, it's all spacey, but the show opens with a shootout where he's being just overwhelmed by this government religious what have you agency. I forget exactly what it was, but he's just holed up in a church and he's talking about how many shells he has left, and they're all numbered. And so it kind of was like, I don't know what's happening here, but it turns out that the gun is called a caster because all those shells are various magical fucking spells encased in bullets
Yeah.
that you have to fire from this specific gun to activate the magic. And I was sold. I was hooked. It's a gun that shoots magic in space.
And he
I
has
was there.
He has like multiple of some of them. And
Yeah.
there's the one that he only has one of, and no matter how bad the situation gets, he never fucking fires it.
Yeah,
right?
and it's alluded to like, oh, it takes a lot out of you and stuff like that. And then when he finally does use it, it like sucks his soul away.
And doesn't it create
as-
like a black hole kind of thing? Or
Yeah,
something?
it's insane. They saved
Yeah.
that. I think that was second to last or the last episode of the run.
No, that show is really fucking cool for sure. And yeah, you're right. That concept, you wouldn't buy that in live action.
No.
And you also wouldn't buy the fist fighting spaceships, which is such a cool thing to see in the show. Like,
Yeah,
like it is fucking. They're good. They grapple with each other. They have like joystick controlled arms with fists, and they grab onto each other as the ships are about to ram into each other.
and they just beat the
Yeah,
shit out
they're
of each
fucking
other,
punching the shit out of the other ship and stuff. Like it's
trying
fucking
to break
rad.
open the hole.
It's rad as hell. You shake your head.
Well, I shake my head because you make fun of me for the animes that I like.
I'm not. I haven't made fun of you for it.
But you have though.
A little bit.
But
Well, part of that is a
space
generous
stations fucking punching each other. How dumb is that?
spaceships,
The
rocket
space-
ships.
The
They're not space stations.
don't punch each
Oh
other. That
my
was-
god,
That would be
Jesus.
ridiculous.
Come on.
But there is something
But,
to be
I
said
mean,
for Christina's
seriously,
point
like,
that we
that-
do
Yes.
pick and choose what we think is silly and what we're willing to accept.
Exactly. Like
honestly,
I don't
honestly,
get
I
Dragon
think-
Ball Z. Like I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get what the allure is from someone just floating in the air and screaming at each other for 2.5
They
hours.
don't do it for
Yes,
2.5
they
hours.
do.
No, they don't. That's such
Whatever.
a
So
common-
there were the Saiyans
Trope
and
that-
then the Troubles. Wasn't that what they were? Who were the other race on Planet Vegeta?
Oh fuck! I don't even fucking remember, dude. I know what you're talking about though. But no.
But like whole episodes of them just yelling.
They do not just yell for whole episodes. They will yell at the end of an episode, and the next
Whatever.
episode picks up with them yelling, and that's
Okay,
where that
sure.
comes from.
Whatever. They're always yelling.
There has never been ever like a transformation that lasts an entire episode or anything like that. That is untrue.
Okay.
I feel like the closest it gets is
It's got to be the Frieza saga.
it is, but it's not even a transformation.
Is it
I
the
think
s-
it's
the
him
spirit
charging up
bomb?
the spirit bomb.
Yeah, I think that's what most people
is
kind of
almost
point
the whole
to.
episode. Yeah, and he's not screaming; he's fucking talking, and like Vegeta's down there dead, dying, talking to him, and like that's an emotional moment in that show.
But there is a reason why that joke exists.
Sure.
Of them powering up for 2.5 hours. It is a joke, but in every single episode, especially the combat centric, like arcs,
Yeah, they have to power up.
Yes,
Yeah,
they have to.
obviously.
But the way they do so
They're not
is
just
so
gonna,
ridiculous.
They're not just gonna go into a fight without powering up. Come on.
They don't even have any sensu beans.
Oh god. But yeah, like I think I don't make fun of people for animes just based on the fact that everyone likes different shit.
Right.
You know? Like who cares what you like? Whatever.
I like some goofy ones too. Like I like FLCL. I like Fooly Cooly, and I've watched all of that. And that is just random fucking. I mean, it's humorous, but it is really out there. There's like a robot that crawls out of a bump on this kid's head. And then another robot crawls out as well and fights the first one.
What the hell?
And a girl rides around on a little Vespa scooter with a bass guitar that she revs up like an engine and then hits people with. And
That sounds cool.
And they also talk about nipple tweaking, which is what Fooly Cooly is.
I think one
Okay,
reason
well.
why
We're just gonna skip over that.
It's about puberty, okay? It's about a boy's uncomfortable.
all anime is about puberty, okay?
That's-
I don't care if
that's
it's about
true.
a grown group of people. It's about, puberty.
Are the transformation sequences in Dragon Ball Z
Puberty.
an allegory for puberty? Is that what
we
you're saying?
we got to see it when Gohan became a man.
That is true. Gohan did become a man whenever he killed Cell, and then became a bitch whenever he became the Great Saiyan.
And then he became a bitch. Jesus. Most disappointing thing in all of television ever is coming back to the next season after the Cell games, and Gohan's fucking almost an adult. He is an adult. And you just want to see the next kind of badass shit he's going to get up to and surpass even his father. And nope, you got to go to school, you got to put on this helmet, and you got to do dance moves.
Yeah, for sure. It was really downhill after the Cell games.
I wonder if, because there was something I noticed having played Final Fantasy games my whole life, when they became voice acted, Final Fantasy X,
Yeah.
getting involved in the story and being immersed in that world took a big hit for me. Because,
Like it got harder to do.
Yes, because of not because of the voice acting specifically or the story specifically, but because the mouth animations and really any of the settings and things like that are done for the Japanese language voice actors, obviously.
Right.
And they move over to English language voice actors who fill that void, and sometimes they have to write to fill that void. That happens a lot. And
Is that why Titus laughs so much?
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
Because there are some
makes
things that
sense.
just culturally don't translate over,
Right.
like that sequence. But I wonder if that's part of the reason why it's so hard to get some people, and maybe even including me, into certain anime, because it almost reminds me of when you're watching a movie or a TV series and the audio doesn't quite sync up with the video, and it just bugs the shit out of you. And it feels very strange.
Yeah.
I get that sometimes when I'm watching an English dubbed anime or playing an English dubbed Japanese video game that has voice acting, that I'm taken out of an otherwise really good experience because I can tell it's written awkwardly to fill in those spaces with English instead of Japanese.
That makes sense.
I don't think that's ever a problem for me. Like it's for
Problem
sure
for me.
It's noticeable, absolutely. But,
Yeah.
But I've never had an issue with it. I don't know why that is, but yeah, I've always been fine with it. As far as the English dubs go, I prefer an English dub over having to read subtitles throughout the whole thing.
I do agree to that.
I'm fine with subtitles, and I think that might speak to me having that problem, is that there are certain things where I would rather watch the original Japanese with English subtitles just because I felt like it was all flowing the way that the writers and director intended it to flow. Yeah, because when you go over into English, so many things are take a lot less time to say.
Yeah.
And you got to fill time. That's why you get a lot of those
kind of things. Is that what you're talking about?
Those kind of things.
Maybe that's why they power up so long in Dragon Ball Z, dude. What if there's actually dialogue that we're missing? Instead, they're just
Well,
like,
I want to know what it is.
just keep yelling. So what about Gundam? Because you like Gundam, right?
Oh, there's so many good things about Gundam. It takes itself so seriously.
So
fucking seriously, but it manages to pull that off.
Yeah. You never watched Gundam Wing at all when it was on Cartoon Network at all?
I think I did a little bit, but I mean, I think it did take itself too seriously, and that's why I didn't care for it that much.
I think it had a winning formula,
I mean,
too.
I was a young kid. I was like, this, I would rather have some laughs,
No, there was
little bit of
no
laughs,
time for laughter
little ha-has.
in Gundam Wing. Absolutely not.
You're right, and that, I wouldn't say that I dislike it, I guess. It's just that I couldn't get into it, you know?
Yeah.
Look at
I loved it. I loved that Hiro, the protagonist's go-to reaction in any given scenario is, shit, this didn't go as planned. Time to kill myself and blow up my Gundam.
myself. Yeah. Well, just the setup of the whole thing, it seems like it was intrinsically made for me and my people. Like, Japan's greatest export, fighting robots. You got fighting robots that are piloted by a Super Sentai team of kids.
Yeah, basically.
Who are also really, really young kids. Holy shit, these kids are young. And they are being
murdering people.
And they are being
they're going through some shit.
Yes, they are.
And whose idea was this? Why can adults not pilot these Gundams? I mean, I know why. These kids are the best of the best, but damn.
But man, you are maybe causing some of the problems that you're having by making these kids do this.
Oh, yes, dude. Just
As much as I like to shit on things being dark and gritty for the sake of being dark and gritty, it worked.
for Gundam Wing.
It worked.
I think it has one of the best first episodes of any anime. Like, I remember watching the first episode when it first came on.
Watching that space shuttle.
Yeah. A Shooting Star She Saw is the name of the episode.
Yep.
I can remember that. And yeah, she sees the fight happening from the shuttle. And then Hiro, comes to her school, right?
Yeah.
And she, invites him to her birthday party. And he pulls out a gun and he's like, I'll fucking kill you.
What?
It is
Yes,
the best.
Christina.
Oh, it's the best, dude. I'll make you watch Gundam Wing.
No.
You might be able to actually get into it. You're gonna love these suicidal little kids, okay?
That's probably true.
And they're fucking robots with swords and
God.
guns.
And I also
Some of them are lasers. Some of them aren't. Some of them just shoot big blocks of yellow
bullets.
splashes.
Well, it's just like heavy arms. It's just an animation for bullets.
Yeah, I understand, but I love that shit.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I love about that animation style is that seeing something like that, a combat scenario with a bunch of robots, I would prefer to see that in that art style than any other, even CG. I'd rather see.
I feel like Gundam Wing also was a decent milestone for homosexuality in children's media.
Yeah.
It was way ahead of stuff like Adventure Time and Steven Universe.
Mm-hmm.
And
what we saw was even toned down from the original Japanese version.
absolutely, but I still got it and was just totally instantly okay with it.
Yeah.
I don't know how else my life might have turned out if I hadn't seen Katra and Troa play violin and cello together. Was it a cello? What was the other? No, it was like a woodwind instrument. What's Troa play?
I don't remember.
Was it just a flute?
I feel like it was just a flute, but I
Yeah.
feel like he was playing it like a recorder.
Yeah, maybe it was like a clarinet.
Recorder.
Well, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not picking it out in my head correctly, but I know the scenario that you're talking about and their just relationship in general.
Right. Well, just that episode, because you watch them being best friends constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Because they do edit out most of the more overt, homosexual sequences between them, I guess. But in that sequence, they keep them playing the music, and then in the music, it does the Sailor Moon thing, where the background turns all sparkly and then hearts.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I watched Sailor Moon also. I loved Sailor Moon as well. And I was like, that's an anime when that happens. It's because two people are sharing a sequence in which they're in love.
yes.
So then these two boys are doing it. And I was like, oh, these two boys are also in love. And
that's a thing that happens. Cool.
And that's okay.
I love these guys. I hope they're happy.
They're the best. And I just wonder if there's an alternate world in which I grew up not liking Gundam Wing and that's
are a homophobe.
And suddenly I'm totally homophobic and it all boils down to that one moment, how big of an impact that may have had. It's certainly possible. What else, dude? Was there anything else there's some that were less popular to me.
I'm surprised it took that long for Sailor Moon to come up.
Yeah, that's true. I love
Yeah.
Sailor Moon. Well, I was always kind of embarrassed to admit that I liked Sailor Moon when I was a younger kid.
It's so overtly feminine, I can see why.
Right. Because the other boys at school would be like, oh, I can't wait for Dragon Ball Z to come on. And I'm like, I can't wait for Sailor Moon to come on. And then Dragon Ball Z to follow it.
Exactly, yeah.
No, we don't watch Sailor Moon. That's for girls. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I won't talk to you guys about Sailor Moon anymore.
Under your breath, in the name of the moon, I will defeat you.
Story of my life.
Yeah, that's true.
That was certainly why I was. I was so because I was raised, fairly religiously, and I would I would turn off the show if I caught myself watching it sometimes.
Sailor Moon?
Yeah, because I would feel weird about it.
Because it's for girls?
No, because
you got a boner watching the cartoon?
because of the pressure that I would feel from other people in my religious community at the time. Like, oh man, they would make fun of me if they knew I was watching this, and that hit me so much that sometimes I would not watch it because I didn't want people to think that about me. But
Yeah.
I believe that all of the media that I consumed is directly responsible for me shedding those conventions as I grew up and went to middle school and high school and stuff like that.
Yeah, it definitely... I don't know, it's weird. Go ahead.
I mean, that's the thing that I had to deal with all my life. It's actually kind of refreshing to hear you guys say that, because, I had to deal with that entirely until I met you guys.
Yeah.
What, just being into the things that you were into and that's for boys?
Yeah. Yeah. Everything. Like everything that I like.
Inuyasha, I think, is pretty much for girls.
I thought we were having a moment.
There's never a moment. But yeah, no.
No, I see what you're saying, for sure. You didn't know that at one point, for one brief moment...
That you
I
felt
had-
outcasted?
Yeah, I had to
because
struggle
of
with
the
that.
things that you liked?
For just one thing that I liked.
One thing.
Our fragile male
Briefly.
egos were destroyed by the defenders of the moon and stars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I knew that I was okay being able to enjoy it. I just didn't bring it up to other people because they would make fun of me for it. And I was like, well, I don't want to be made fun of for it. But I never stopped watching it. Like, I loved it.
I wasn't allowed to watch Power Rangers because of Lord Zed and Jesus is Lord, so my experience was perhaps slightly different.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't supposed to watch Power Rangers, but just because it was violent, because they fought. But I don't know. Then
Blood was always the line that my parents would draw if it was a violence conversation.
really,
Yeah. Because they, after they started letting me watch the Power Rangers, my mom did get concerned. She was like, well, I heard it was violent, so I asked her if she would just watch a little bit with me, and she saw a fight with the putties. She was like, what is this ridiculous horse shit? This is nothing.
this is a bunch of fucking bullshit. Yeah, you can
They're
watch
doing
this.
gymnastics all over each other. What's happening?
That's funny, dude.
That makes sense.
This isn't violent.
Thank God my mom would never watch the stuff that I watched. As long as it was like cartoons, it was fine.
Yeah.
Which is actually a big role that I feel like anime played. There was a video
That was
store.
one of the only doors you could access was because it was a quote unquote cartoon.
Yeah, we had a video store that we would go to every other weekend. We were all taken to it, and we all got to rent one movie and
You and your brothers.
Yeah, me and my two brothers each got to rent one movie and one game every other weekend, right?
Mhm.
So I'd get like an N64 game or whatever, and it's weird how you have like super specific memories. I can 100% picture exactly that it was in that video store that I got Tactics Ogre 64 for whatever reason. Like I
You
know.
remember- For me, it's the same video store. I remember getting Quest 64 for the Nintendo 64.
Okay.
It was terrible.
But I would go to the anime section and I would get anime movies as well. My mom was always like, "Yep, this is a cartoon. This is fine." And it would be shit like Ninja Scroll, which is like super violent.
Yeah.
And like Akira, like Ghost in the Shell, like there were boobies and blood and all kinds of shit and satanic
In the
shit.
case of Akira, not just violent, to me, still slightly disturbing.
Yeah.
That imagery
Mm-hmm.
of the flesh and ugh.
The monster at the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'd watch all that shit and I was all about it. And like when I was real young.
Yeah.
And my mom never knew. And I don't know.
Joke's on you, Judy.
The joke was on you. maybe that shit fucked me up, dude. Maybe I was too young to be watching Akira. At what age is it okay to watch Akira, dude?
I don't know. At what age is it okay to watch Gundam Wing? Because I was like 10 or 11.
You think you were too young for Gundam Wing?
I don't think I was too young for Gundam Wing, but I think there was a chance for it to have gone south, and I'm lucky that it didn't.
Should they have spent less time editing out the homosexual relationship and more time editing out the fucking whole suicide
The
aspect.
suicidal tendencies that every episode was glazed with.
I don't know, dude.
But not even just that, but it had a way, it touched on a lot of stuff that I feel like I wouldn't have encountered until I was much older. I remember specifically an episode where an entire colony is destroyed.
Yeah.
And Hito is over Skype with the guy who just blew up the colony, and he's in the Wing Gundam, and he's talking to him like, how could you possibly do this with no regard for human life?
I totally know what you're talking about.
And you don't even give a shit. How could you possibly do this and claim any sort of higher moral ground of any kind, or that you know better? And he just has his, I believe it's his AI, just start continuing a recording that he has listened to over and over and over again of the names of everyone who he has killed in that colony, all of the residents. And I remember it going through a few names, and Hito just kind of sitting there shocked. And he says, he ends the recording, he said, "Thank you, we'll continue this later." And it just kind of struck me as like that duality of their positions. Like, it made me, for the first time that I can remember, look at someone who I had perceived as a bad guy, always bad, he is bad, everything about him is bad, and think that maybe there's another perspective there. Or at the very least, he was a human being.
Yeah, that show definitely does a good job of characters swap sides constantly, and it never portrays either side. The Earth Sphere Alliance, and what's the other group?
It's been so long.
I get all the Gundams mixed up. I don't think
it's rough.
I don't think it's Zion. I think that's from maybe the original Gundam.
Yeah.
But whatever. The two warring factions, everybody is constantly switching sides between them, and it never paints one as for sure the good one and for sure the bad one.
You just happen to be following Hito Yui and
right. But not even. I mean, there's episodes where you follow, like, doesn't Wu Fei work for
I was going to say, and his sphere of influence, like the people around him, those are really the quote-unquote faction that you're following.
And like you said, you also spend, I can't remember that guy's name, but he's the guy who pilots Tall Geese later on.
Yeah.
After Zex gets the Epion Gundam. Mm-hmm. And like, you follow him for a long time, you follow Zex, and he switched sides and probably switches back. And like, so it definitely does it taught me as a younger person to always look at like both sides of a conflict.
Exactly.
Which I think helps sort of I think that show definitely helps steel me against, in a way, like indoctrination, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of like, I guess a good allegory for it or whatever would be, or a good example would be like, I would have certainly been more prone to like anti-Muslim sentiment as a child.
Yes.
Even when 9/11 happened, that I was like, well, but why did they do it?
Yeah.
And so many adults, were like, it doesn't matter why they did it.
It doesn't matter why they did it. Brown people did it.
They did it because they hate us and they're evil. And I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So
no one's ever done anything for just that reason.
Yeah, there's no one is actually just evil. That's not a real fucking thing. Like, they think that they're doing right. What did they think they were achieving when they did it? I think it's important to understand that. And I don't know, that show, it's weird that we've talked about just Gundam Wing for so long. Let's watch Gundam Wing.
Yeah, it clearly left a mark on both of us.
Didn't even fucking realize.
I brought up Outlaw Star as like the one I remember the most fondly, but Gundam is clearly the one that judging from this conversation, had the biggest effect on me.
So the best anime of all time, Gundam Wing.
Is Gundam Wing, yeah.
Baby? For you, it's Inuyasha though, right? What did Inuyasha teach you?
I mean,
that it's okay to have fangs and whiskers.
Stop it.
I'm really sorry.
God damn it.
It's too bad that whole Gundam lesson that we learned about looking at both sides of an argument didn't translate to anime.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure that there was some stuff, but again, it's been so long. Like, I couldn't even remember the names of the half of the people last night when I was trying to explain stuff to you. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, part of it was like the love thing, I guess, and like how two super unlikely people could fall in love.
Okay.
And that's, I don't know, seems cool to me. I like that.
Yeah.
Two very, very different fucking people.
Right.
Or human, dog, demons, and a person
Mhm,
could
yeah.
fall in love.
I love how
Whatever, who cares? Who
And
cares?
that's okay.
I
You
love how
know?
we've all conceded that we have learned great lessons from this thing that we still
God
won't tell
fucking
people that we
Jesus.
like.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess you're right, dude. I've certainly learned lessons from Dragon Ball Z. That one's a little bit more black and white, I think. Like,
Well, I mean, it's a lot more digestible of a moral, standpoint. Like, trust in your friends and
don't give in to bullies.
don't give in to bullies.
You punch them. If somebody tries to bully you, you just punch them.
Get your driver's license.
God, that's the best episode, dude. Still the best. No, yeah.
But even your enemies can become your friends if you understand them.
True. That is
Yeah.
true.
That's one thing that I think I took from Dragon Ball Z is that you shouldn't write people off just because of the role they previously played in your life.
Just because of how many times they try to kill your planet,
Yeah.
like, they can still change, okay?
You can still change and become your uncle. And no matter how many times a person is a robot, you can still bang them and have a baby.
Yep, that's also true.
No matter how bald you are or how many times you have died.
You can still grow a beard
You can
or a mustache. What other lessons? No matter how many times you suck at fighting, you can still also suck at baseball and then also suck at fighting again and die. I'm talking about Yamcha there.
I know.
You know? Wow.
You gotta find yourselves a
Amazing.
cloud to stand on. Yeah.
I feel like that was like a half-baked, I can't think of the phrase, but like a glass houses.
People in glass houses shouldn't
Sink
throw
ships.
stones.
Well, yeah.
People in glass houses sink ships.
I don't even have a cloud to stand on and ride around in the sky. What are you fucking
You don't have
talking
a
about?
leg to stand on. What are you talking about? Well, my cloud. I haven't found my cloud.
It's
Dude, go to work.
so
In short, we're very unfair to anime.
yeah, dude. And anime is actually pretty good. We just don't know much of it. Maybe we just need to give more chances to anime.
So, if you want to comment and tell us some good animes to watch,
Yeah,
we
dude.
might watch them.
Suggest? No, I will suggest an anime. I'll watch at least one episode of it if it's a show, and if it's a movie, I'll watch the
Give
first
it half an hour.
hour. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I'll comment back after I watch it and I'll tell you what I thought of it.
If it's a manga, I'll find the television series adaptation of the manga.
So you know what I like, aside from the other things I mentioned, I also am a big fan of Rurouni Kenshin, Trust and Betrayal, but only that one. I hate both Rurouni Kenshin and Samurai X shows, and I hate every other OVA. Just the one OVA is good.
Trigun, right? That was the show name.
It was a show name, but I'm not really a big fan of it.
I like Trigun.
I think that's the biggest surprise to me is that you don't like Trigun.
Yeah, I just it was a little too goofy for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like there was some heavy shit, but the goofy shit outweighed it to the point of I didn't really take it seriously at all.
And back to square one we are.
Mm-hmm.
Anime bullshit with their hands on their hips.
God, I thought anime was good and I didn't give it a chance. Now I just remembered anime sucks.
Don't give us anime suggestions in the comments.
Give us anime suggestions.
What was your
We'll
favorite
watch it.
episode of Tenchi Muyo?
The one where I can't remember a single episode specifically. I can remember some scenes. I remember the talking logs, and I remember like when you finally get to see Ryoko in like her full on spacesuit,
Yeah.
and like you're like shit. She maybe really is kind of a bad guy, and like, but she's not. You know, she loves Tenchi. And
She loves Tenchi. And I for some reason, the only specific thing that I can pick out is the red gems appearing and disappearing from the sword.
Oh, like her like lightsaber thing that she has that she just summons? Is that what you're talking about?
I don't even know what I'm talking about, man. I barely watched Tenchi Muyo.
I thought you watched it a little bit.
I
That's why
think
you
I
brought it
watched
up.
an entire season, but it was I don't remember it the way that I remember Gundam and the things.
Yeah, for sure.
I really mainly caught the end of it before Hamtaro came on.
That's fair. So best anime ever, Hamtaro, guys.
That's true.
Until next time.
Hamtaro, Endless Waltz.
This is oh god. Until next time, this has been Bing Out, Bing Out, Bang Out. Tune in, Bing Out. Give it a bing, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a subscribe, give it everything you got.
Smash it. Smash the bell.